Yes, this is one of those conversations that you like to have. I like to talk. Now, I met this young woman in India, April 2019, at a conference. The way she smiled at me, I thought I knew her from the beginning of my life. It turns out that I actually knew her much longer than that because she used to watch me on television. But listening to her story at the end of the whole conference, I knew that someday I was going to trap her on the seat and walk her through how she walked through some of the pains that a lot of young women are undergoing today, and why she is the strong woman that she is. She's still evolving, and she admits that, but the truth is, she has a lot to teach us about finding self. NAOMI OSEMEDUA is my chatting partner today, and I would like to formally welcome her to this. I'm doing this off the cuff. This is my new life, acting on impulse. You walked into my office, we had our Instagram live, and I'm saying, you know what? We need to take this to the space I'm trying to create. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
But I also appreciate you for accepting to hold my hand all the way. And though I'm your big sister.
Yes, you are.
Let me start by how you met me.
Okay, well, I used to read the magazine and also, watch you on TV. And as a single mom in 2009, 2010, I always looked forward to picking up an edition of Today's Woman. There was just so much. For me, it was always there was a totality to it. It was just
that's how you call us.
Total woman. It wasn't just about being today's woman. It was spiritual, financial, personal, fitness, everything. It was motherhood. Everything was in there.
So it helped you.
Yes, personal development, and I moved to Kwara State, and I remember I could not find it at the vendor stands, and that became a problem for me. I was like, because I need this right now. When new edition is out, then you were not online. And so I came to Lagos actually, and I presented myself to be a distributor, just so that I would always be guaranteed of having my copy. And of course, I wanted to share that with other people who needed to know what was happening in the pages of Today's Woman.
I was a single woman. But you already had kids. You had 2 boys.
Yes, I had 2 boys.
And you were how old?
I was just, at that point, I was 31.
But you had been married before that, because those kids were not born out of wedlock.
Yes, they were.
Right. Yes.
9 years.
You were married for 9 years. At 31.
Yes. So, story of my life. So at the age
of life then.
Yes. At the age of 22, I ran away from home.
When you use that word run away, did you jump the fence? Or how did that happen? Or literally just walked out? Where was mommy, where was daddy?
Yes, so they were at work. It was a regular day. So early that year, I had met someone. I was in the university. I had a few setbacks with school because I wanted to be a medical doctor. And after I wrote the WIAC exams, I passed, but JAMB wasn't really okay that year, 1995. And my father didn't really want me to waste time at home. So I went into the University of Ekoma to study, to do the pre-degree program, and then get into the med school. But then after the pre-degree and 100 level chemistry, the medical school was still not accredited. And so there was this big thing of, okay, try another school. So I got to UI, and that year I tried to get in. They had a new rule that they only were taking transfer students who had done JAM, and I didn't have JAM. But I stayed for 9 months trying to make it work, but it didn't work. And my father literally came and bundled me, come back home, it's not working. I just wanted it to work because I didn't think I wanted to go back to where I was coming from. So I went back home, spent almost 2 years. Home was in Warri.
So dad worked in the oil industry?
Yes, dad was in the oil industry. Spent almost 2 years at home trying to get into Uniben. I was like, no way am I going back to Ekoma. Because by the time we finally decided I needed to go back, my course mates in the Department of Chemistry were graduating.
Oh my word.
Yes. So at this stage, I was already in a state where I felt I had lost so much. Add the fact that as a teenager growing up in Southeast Asia, I was bigger than my my regular friends, because you know the Asians are petite.
You're well fed.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Then I was bigger. I was darker. I had afro.
Your dad was on posting in Southeast Asia.
Yes, he was on cross posting.
Brunei. There most of the time.
Yes, most part of high school. Like we left when I was just 11, and we were there till I was almost 16.
So you became a teenager outside of home.
Yes.
Where your self-confidence was attacked because you were a little bigger than the usual women there.
Yes.
And you thought you were fat.
I mean,
you thought you were a giant.
It was so bad. Like, and if anyone called me fat, I would never speak to them again. So I was dealing with stuff. I didn't know what that was, but I really just had very, very low self-esteem. And then came back to Nigeria and then had all that academic thing. So when I met someone in the year 2000 who was like, you know, I love you, and you know, we're gonna be married, it's you and me against the world. You know, my parents had their reservations. There was so much out there about, you know, his past.
Are you the first child?
First girl. So I have 4 sisters behind me.
Oh wow.
And so it was scary, you know, to say the least, for them, you know. Looking back now, of course, then I was really mad at my parents. Like, why can't you guys just accept me? It's my decision. It's my life. I was 22.
Oh goodness.
So I wrote them. So it was November 10th. I can't forget November 10th. Oh, but there was something that happened before that. Because they already said no, and I really wanted to be married. This is so shameful.
Why did you just date the fellow?
Well, we were dating, but then I did this, so it just led me to what I was about to say. I was so eager to get married that I printed wedding cards. Yeah.
Did you think marrying him would like make your parents accept him?
Yeah, that, but I think it was not even about him at that moment. I think it was more about me, like, finally, you know, finally I have something.
You can be a Mrs.
Was it really Mrs.? It was just like, it wasn't just being fat or being behind when my mates were graduating. It was not like, yes, you know, there was now something that could be mine, you know, just, and it was, I don't know, kind of crazy.
Okay, so let's cut a long story short. Eventually you married a fella. What you told us now explains
so it was a secret
the state
wedding.
of mind you were in. Tell me about the day you left him. You jumped the fence?
No, so yeah, November 10th. So word got out. 10th, 2000,
wow.
19 years ago. So word got out because my dad's friends called him to say, oh, congratulations, your daughter is getting married. Yes, that's how they heard. Oh gosh, I did that. Oh. Anyway, that's how they heard. And it was like, what? You printed cards? I was like, yes. I really want to be married. My mom literally lynched me that day.
Did you ever come to see your parents?
Well, up until that moment, they kind of knew I was dating him, and there was this, you know, you need to end this relationship.
Because they felt you should go to school first.
Yes, school was priority, and there was just so much out there, and they were just like, you're not ready. What do you know about marriage?
Yeah, 22.
Yes, and I was like, I'm ready. I want this. I need this, and it has to happen. It was really, really bad. So the church got notified that, look, we're not a party to this. Somehow we had succeeded in going through counseling, but we were at the point where parental consent, we didn't have it.
And I know you don't like to beat up on that guy. You don't like to beat up on the past. So you were able to get out of the house because your parents were not home.
Yeah, my mom was at school. Dad had gone to work. I remember my baby sisters were at school. I was at home. You know, I think the university was on strike or break. And I wrote a note. I asked my mom recently if she still had that letter. She said she tore it or burnt it. I was like, no, it would have been nice to look back and read the rubbish that I wrote. But in summary, it was literally, you know, it's my life. I want to leave it, and, you know, I'm out. So I wrote the note, locked the door, dropped the key somewhere, and I took off.
And that was the beginning of the next 9 years of loss of self, complete loss of self.
Totally. And family, because I lost everything. I mean, my parents were not really excited about keeping things normal because they felt that would be a bad example for my sisters.
You're gone.
Yep.
They cut you off completely.
Privileges and everything. I remember at some point my brother got back from the US to get married, and, you know,
they didn't invite you.
No, I wasn't there. And then my sister after me got married. Those are things I can never get back. I missed all of that.
Okay, so that time, I mean, if they go to your page, you know, Women with Stories, or you go to NAOMI's page, this story is there. largely, or this way you speak?
Yeah, I mean, it's there because the Women with Stories was born out of me telling my story, but I didn't think it was going to be anything. But people would say to me like, "Oh, that's so inspiring. You don't look like what you've been through," and then it became this movement of telling other women's stories, and that's how the Women with Stories was born. It wasn't a part of the plan, but it kind of feels good that everything I went through is serving a greater good right now.
So 9 years of your life dropped down the hole, but it wasn't so bad because you have 2 sons out of all of that.
Yes.
But I mean, I just wonder what happened and how did you manage, because I call it a dark hole. Because the dark time was a dark time for you.
So being cut off, first of all, of course, the financial flow was the first.
I did what I like you. So where did you move to?
So Ubiaja.
What?
A village, because he was doing his youth service, and so that's where I was.
Can you believe that youth service and you go and marry? I see that kind of thing before.
Well, up until that point, it was just like
love.
The best thing ever, and it was tough because I had to learn how to survive. And I remember at some point...
Did you know how to cook at that time?
Oh yeah, I started cooking when I was 9. My mom really brought me up well. Even when we were overseas, I was cooking. So I was already good at that.
But did you fetch it out of the well?
Yes, there was that. And then I had to start business because I was still in school and he was serving. So there had to be like an income stream. So
you had to go back to Ekpoma anyway?
Yes, so I was going to school. So school was on strike. I remember now when it all happened. But by the time the strike was over, I was already married.
So the thing is, you went to school. You didn't give up your education.
No, I didn't.
Which is important.
Which is really good, So I had the 2 sons while in school. It was crazy. My second son, Yadel, I remember I finished one of my exams on a Friday. I had him on Saturday. How I was with that pregnancy, and of course people knew the story, and
there was no mommy doing omogo.
No, there was nothing like that. Like I had Yadel at like 4 p.m. By 6:15 I was back home. Like
Yadel is number 2.
Yeah, number 2. I had to be strong. I had to survive. And then for business, I started traveling to Lagos to buy 30 used bags. And so I was, selling okrika.
No, they call it bend down.
Okay, bend down. Or thrift.
Okay,
that's
a
funny.
Yeah,
so thrift bag.
So, but you see, the thing of your story is that you didn't give up. You didn't beat yourself up. What tell me you didn't regret?
Oh, regret. I mean, even after 19 years, I still, think what my life could have been like. Because when we came back from Brunei, my brother left for New York and I was to leave after a couple of years. So I keep thinking, what that would have been like, if it was that path. But then again, like you said, I believe out of that very thorny situation, I got 2 beautiful roses, my sons. The first one's almost 18. The second is, going to be 16 in November 2019. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for what the whole pain has birthed, what it's birthed now. But it was tough at that point. There were so many times where I felt I didn't deserve what was happening because at some point the relationship got abusive. And it was hard because I had given up everything.
What kind of abuse? Physical or verbal
it was
or financial?
It was physical, it was emotional because, there was a lot that was being said about, me leaving home. And I remember a particular time where he went and heard something and came back and said, you know what, go back to your parents. He threw the rings away. The pictures we took at the secret court wedding, he burnt them. I don't think I've shared this publicly before. And it was like,
so you don't have a picture from that wedding anymore?
No.
That's just as well, isn't it?
No. And it was like, go back. And I was like, what am I going back to? I already walked away from everything. Who's going to accept me now? And then years later, of course, there was physical abuse, beats.
And you met up with someone else eventually?
Yeah, I mean, after 9 years, I walked away and, he moved on and, got married, but, wishing him well. But one thing is certain, I tend to have a lot of empathy, towards him because there were things he dealt with as a child growing up. And he told me about all of that. And I think for me, it's one of the biggest things I took away. And that is be careful what you hate because you become it. He hated his father and really despised the things his father did to him. Not really hated his father. He hated the things his father did to him, but unfortunately, he didn't deal with them.
So what are your takeaways from that time? There's a woman right now who's in this abusive relationship, who's made the same kind of mistake. Maybe she didn't run from home. But what do you tell her that can show her that there's a light at the end of the tunnel?
So walking away in 2009 wasn't popular. I mean,
how did you walk away?
Yes, so some people would say someone was praying for me. Some would say there had to be a God factor, because I really didn't even know if my family would ever take me back. I didn't really know what I was going to become, if anyone is ever going to marry me, you know, or if I'll be a single mom. Yes, I'm remarried, you know, with 2 more kids, and you know, I didn't know, but at that point I just knew there was more to my life. I had read so much about purpose, and I knew.
So how were you reading? So you were keeping your mind busy?
Oh yeah, so I started this reading culture. From that period, I was in the University of Ibadan. I was attending Living Faith Church, and Bishop Oyedepo would always talk about books. You know, there was always the book of the month. So it became a culture. And so that was sort of like my, you know, go-to place. Until today, there's hardly ever a time I don't have a book with me. So reading books, and Dr. Miles Monroe was one of the biggest authors.
So spiritual, motivational books,
yes,
kept your mind up there.
Kept me up there. So I just knew this couldn't be all. There just had to be more. This just couldn't be the end. There's purpose. And the funny thing is, Dr. Miles Monroe was one of the biggest authors I was reading from. And in 2012, he actually mentored me personally before he passed away. So that was so special that I actually got into that space where I could learn from him.
So what are you telling these women?
Don't give up on yourself. You know, there's a greater good. I know it hurts. I mean, I still feel pain. It's not like it's ever going to go, and I will never think about
it. What you might have been.
Yeah, because that's 9 years of my youth. That's when girls are discovering themselves, you know, graduating, finding career paths. I didn't have all of that. I was busy having kids. Yeah, but I'm doing it. So I'm going to be 41 as of this recording in August, and my life is like a movie. It's almost like a fairy tale, you know, looking back and like, well, yeah, I kind of lost all of that, but I've gained so much more. And I think taking my pain and discovering the purpose in it, and now turning it into something that I'm using to make this world a better place, just makes it all worthwhile. And that's because I survived. Unfortunately, some people might be watching and they know people who didn't survive. And that's really heartbreaking, because you shouldn't even have to be in that place where someone you love, you know, gets to treat you that way. But it's what it is, you know. But just knowing that there's more to your life, there's purpose, that God has a plan for you, should just encourage every woman who's been through abuse or going through abuse. And I would also say come out, because some people would say...
No, did you ever want to come out at some point, and did you try?
I tried. I tried, but I would go back. You know, I tried out, but I would go back, because, you know, I just also didn't think I wanted that stigma of, you know, divorce. It wasn't really like... My parents have been married almost 45 or more years, and it's like, I would be adding that to the lineage.
So the beauty about it here is, you knew there was something wrong. You did try to go, it was tough, but eventually you left.
I did.
And so the question is, we should come to that realization as quickly as possible, so there's no
casualty, because I mean, then it's, you know, we're probably reading about, God forbid, you know, you're passing. So come out and seek help. And it's amazing now, there's so much support.
Okay, so we've been talking, but I think you have more.
Yes. You know, I look back and I think of the years that I lost, you know, 9 years. But in a different perspective, now that I'm almost 41, I mean, this happened when I was 22, now I'm almost 41. I think there are a few things that I would love to share with the audience. So, first, I would love to say that your story is your gift. I believe that the things that you've gone through and survived, God has given you a cure. And as much as it hurts, as much as you want to stay in a place of bitterness and anger, I also want you to realize that forgiveness is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself. It's not about the other person, but it's about you. So choose today to forgive forgive yourself, forgive everyone. And this is irrespective of whether, if they apologize or not, just forgive because of you, because you love yourself enough. Hurting people hurt others. I learned that on my journey. And the more you stay hurting, you would, hurt and destroy everything in your path. I found love again after 4 years and 2 children, to someone who had never even been married and had no kids. And I believe that was God saying to me, you can have as many chances as you want and make the most of it. So this is me making the most of my life and just on a mission to die empty and leave this world a better place.
To tell women with stories. So together, I'm going to support you with Women with Stories, and that's a done deal.
Thank you.
And we don't know where this is going to go, but just keep it locked. Wherever you saw this, keep it locked there. Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.